first of all, the lovely mandatory slide if it wants to cooperate. Thank you to all the sponsors for allowing this event to happen and for allowing me to speak here. It's a first-time speaker and a first-time public speaker. It's going to be very interesting. So, who here has ever had a user call and say, my session is slow, everything keeps freezing, and something just feels very off.
Yeah.
And you check monitoring and everything's green, and you don't know, what? No, that can't be right. Yeah, that happened several times to me with pretty much everywhere I've worked. There's always some area where you don't know quite where the issue is happening. And that's just not a problem. That becomes a business risk where I work. I work in a pharmaceutical department within Dan office, and when this happens, that is going to be a researcher having a bad experience, then just not wanting to use our solution. That's an engineer complaining loudly to his boss about this is not the way forward, we should do a desktop instead. Or it is the manufacturing line slowing down, costing the customer millions of dollars. And when you go and look, everything's green. Okay, everything's healthy, what should I do? Again, I'm Simon, worked with one of the largest pharmaceutical companies within the world, trying to make their lives easier and onboarding consultants and internal departments all over the world, make their lives easier. So when I joined this pharma department over a small year ago, we had a very good cloud desktop running. It was had many thousands users, many thousands DBAs. But we were still kind of flying blind. We didn't have the data to support everything. And when a complaint came in, okay, then better go check monitor. Okay, monitor screen. What about the load? No load at all on the machine that they can use complaints about. What about the task manager? It's decent. Well, it's not 90% usage. It's not 100%. Okay, what do we need to do here? We didn't have the full picture. We didn't have the data. We just have to build a slide report from this thing. And everything looks green on our end. It must be a fluke or a user issue or an application issue, but we couldn't really just say that. But then I was kind of saved on my ass. uberAgent was announced as part of the new licensing structure and the acquisition. Luckily, the customer also had a platform license, which enabled every use case ever possible with uberAgent. So that was nice. We got telemetry, session data, application data, browser data, and one of the more important ones, logon data. A small side project might have been to try and reduce the logon time, because we've heard from other talks, okay, we go grab a cup of coffee. I don't want that. My desktop should be there within 30 to 40 seconds. We're nearly there with this desktop. It takes roughly 6 seconds on average for the environment. But to just get an idea of the environment that we are running this on, it's 100% in Azure with Citrix Cloud as a control plane. We have this many amount of desktop SKUs for different developer or persona types. And it was very easy. It was all located in the EU, but it's not. It's replicated across many regions. Many updates every single month, trying to make all of this stay in kind of sync with change management. And because we have this many amount of concurrent users and this amount of monthly active users on average per this desktop. It's a lot. So if we screw something up and we can't say, oh, this is where the issue is, the customer's going to lose buying for this solution, which is actually saving them many millions compared to shipping a desktop to the end customer. So with uberAgent, we had architecture and governance and deployment model, and then we needed some buy-in. The idea, the people, and the deployment method. So we started rolling it out in phases, just for single-use desktops, just to get some metrics. And that was good. We got metrics, we got the user, and it performed some very nice baseline metrics for single session machines. But then we needed to do the whole picture. 80% of the environment is multi-session Windows 10, slowly moving to 11. Sorry. But when we did the multi-session, we quickly noticed the data. A single session machine is 25 megs a day, give or take, of raw telemetry. Multi-session is 90 megabytes. So if you times 90 times 400, and if you want, like me, keep the data for a year just to do analysis over, that's 13 or 14 terabytes. Not the best if we want to keep storage costs down, but we'll go over that a bit later. We had everything deployed. So now, the first major use case that we solved with this was a department running a specialized Unix application on this desktop. They were complaining, the app is freezing and it's just very slow compared to what they were used to with their laptops. Okay, look at the machine, 50% CPU with 18 users on, nothing. Network, no major issues there. It was fine. Memory, no. But it was consistent for this application. So why is this happening? Somebody says everything, we say everything looks good. They say, no, it kind of looks like the dog shit. So this is what the application owners provided. This backend server for this Unix application is hosted in Denmark. The virtual desktop is hosted in Asia, West Europe. And they expect 5 to 10 milliseconds to the database at all times. If you know a bit about networking, that is not going to happen. From Copenhagen to Amsterdam is 30 to 40 milliseconds. And this Unix application tried to transfer a couple of thousand small files a second over the network. It didn't spike anything, but this delay made the application just freeze up. Okay, now we have actual data on this. We can go back to the application owner and say, we found this. We should maybe try and change the use case for this application. Can we move the database to the cloud, or should we try and deploy a desktop closer to it to make the experience better? Or is this just not a use case for virtual desktop? It's a very, very good talk with him. This is taken from the environment. It is the uberAgent experience score. I'm proud to say we have 9.0 experience, which is very nice because it's green. We love green dashboards, but it doesn't tell everything that the environment actually is operating in. We see the small network metric here being very low, 7 out of 10. And that is actually just a single desktop SKU in another region. In this case, our desktop A in the US region, having real poor network performance. Okay, why is this having poor network performance? Oh, we can use uberAgent to actually drill down on these metrics. We can see that the worst performing application is an old app program. Why is that so slow? Well, when they try to access PDFs hosted in Denmark through the US and try to go over the Atlantic, it's going to be a really bad experience. And that goes into the desktop experience because it is worse when you have to access over there. So we found it. And with the huge amount of data we can do, we can also do real good sizing of all these desktops. We can see the trends, we can see the peaks. Do we really need to have 16 cores and 120 gigs of RAM on this machine for 8 users. Or we could probably downsize, just try it out. Now we have the data to support it. Monitor gives us some of this, and you have auto scaling and such that also tries to help. But this is locally on the machine, which is so nice because it's every 30 seconds you get metrics. Of course, if you have a peak within those 30 seconds, it's going to be averaged out, but it's way more than 5 seconds with analytics or something like that. So, you should probably try this at home. But that might be a bit overwhelming for some, and some say, oh, it's super easy. From my point of view, it is really easy. You get one Windows machine, you get one Splunk trial, which is free if you sign up with your email. Start up your VDAs, install the agent, and connect it all. Option. You have the dashboard. You can start looking into the metrics, more specifically, what are we actually trying to achieve here? Are we just wanting green dashboards to have our backs clear from management saying everything's good? Or do we have a log-on issue? Do we have something specific we want to try and solve? That is what we have at Goldman. And if you don't like Splunk because licensing or compliance reasons, there are different backends you can use. They don't ship with dashboards, you have to build them own or look at the community for some. I will definitely look into the Elastic Stack because it is more easy than the others to kind of deploy and manage on scale. Or if you are a full Azure guy, you can go look at the log and analytics. And then some say, I have Splunk. I don't like it on-premise, but I would like to use Splunk Clouds for ease of management. Sure. Do we trust Splunk Cloud with all this data tied to a username and a machine? No, not. I wouldn't. You can encrypt the usernames and passwords and everything about the user. So it just looks like gibberish. And then on a given endpoint at your own, you can decode this to a username. So Splunk never sees it. Any of the backends don't see it. And there's multi-tenancy support. So you could deploy one for all your customers, have it separated by customer with an ID and then secret names. Makes it easy for your support departments to have a big overview of everything. See customer X, Y, Z is all green, but Y over here, that's yellow. Okay, we need to deep dive without exposing any of the usernames if anybody comes looking at my screen. Or I'm outside with a customer and I want to share data. Some of the things that we want to do very soon, and I want to go further on, is to reduce the frequency of data. Sounds counterintuitive, I want more data. Well, for some of the desktops, it might be a good idea. We can also limit the amount of data. Say only the top 10 worst performing applications should be logged. Only the top 10 highest network latency should be logged, if data is a concern. If everything goes well, I have a live dashboard we can go and quickly explore to get an idea of the data you can get. So this is the Splunk trial server I was talking about in the beginning. It's very easy to set up in an hour or so. You could start collecting metrics. One small catch, only 500 megs a day. So be considerate about the machines you want to trial with. And okay, my user session is a 9.7. Why? Well, it might be latency or it might be something else. But we can deep dive into almost anything and also the 110 applications installed on this machine individually. So let's see. This was my logon. This was my not so good performing session. Protocol legacy. Okay, this user had some issues. Me in this case. So let's deep dive into my session. It will go through, collect all stats for the session. What endpoint was I on? Who am I? How long was the session? What client version of the Citrix Workspace app am I using? Screen resolution, everything. And I can go down and compare my remote protocol latency. Oh, so I had a spike of 155 milliseconds compared to the baseline of the environment, which is around 60 milliseconds. This is an outlier. It will drag down the score. This allows me to identify, in case of the customer case, if a user from, let's say, India logged on to a European desktop would have very high latency. Then we can go collect all the users, say, okay, you need to change to the India desktop screen. There is also the possibility to go through my logon duration, which has been quite useful in debugging really long logon times. In this case, for this environment, let's see, we're looking at the latest hour. We can switch it to the latest 4 hours. Let's see, oh, it was earlier that I logged on. 24 hours. Perfect. My logon duration for this desktop, 20 seconds. Pretty fast. Would love it to be faster, but it's gonna be tough. But 8 of those seconds ended up being group policy. Okay, I should definitely go look at my group policy if it's 88 seconds of my 29 second logon time. And it's gonna point me to the GPOs exactly that the user had applied. It's going to go through every single executable that was run during the logon time to show you the exact CPU time it used. And if any PowerShell is run with any parameters, it will show up here. So you know exactly what was run, exactly what to troubleshoot at the bug. And you get a very nice comparison of everything down here in RAM and disk. We can use it for sizing. We can use it for collecting infrastructure metrics, which by itself could be done by another system. But putting it here in uberAgent also gives us a holistic image of the entire deployment. How did all the performance go? Did we have enough machines? Can we do right sizing? We also had a case with the customer about the policy or the protocol being used. We wanted to try EDT or UDP, and it just never really worked in our deployment. We couldn't understand why. And we narrowed it down to everybody running or connecting for a second time to the environment. Then it worked fine. What happened? We were able to go into the session and to see, okay, the MTU changed from the first logon to the second logon. Because in Azure, the MTU is slightly smaller than 1500 volt. And something just breaks in that cycle. Citrix is aware. They are pushing a change sometimes to resolve it, so it works every time. But the main solution was, can you just not force 1400 MTU and everything? Please? No. Go resolve it. We have the data to show that it is broken. Please help us resolve it. And that has been my main thing with uberAgent. Resolve issues with data, not just, I have a feeling it might be this server over here that's wrong or misconfigured or something. It is always now data-driven. We can always keep it, we can always go back to it, always have something in our back pocket to show that we know what we're doing, we have metrics on it, and we can deliver on it. And that leads into a kind of open floor where what exactly, we had the hand raising and start. What issues are we normally seeing? Because I have some more customer cases, the things we solved with uberAgent, like network share performance. But that's the customer specific. So if there's anybody here with an issue that I have right now, we can anonymize it, of course. to share and learn from each other, we can quickly see or show you where you find this in the data. Now, we continue a bit and look into some more uberAgent specific stuff where we can really deep dive into what we are looking at. So, the application UI responsiveness, that was where we found the smoking gun before. And we see, okay, there's a few. We can go look. 10 milliseconds for a lookup on a thing here. Okay, that's nice. The last one we can get a bit more here. And in my small desktop, secure private access is actually the one that is having the most latency in its application. So it's probably reaching out to something that's been blocked or it has to retry a couple of times. But we can go so deep down in this network stack for a given application. You can also see what we're talking to. So let's see all the applications. Let's see with Edge. And for Edge, within the last hour, this is all the addresses it has been talking to. Oh yes, very nice. The port, how many retires it had, what's the average latency to one of these, and if it was resolvable by DNS, it will give you the DNS name. So, oh, I have this page, loads very, very slow. Okay, why? How many people are using the page? That's also a metric we can see. How many times do we connect to it? What has it been over time? Just building a general idea and baseline of your environment is one of the most rewarding things at the beginning. And when you then go and have an issue, you know, this was my baseline. This is the issue. And we can very, very quickly locate where this happened. You can also do comparisons between two periods of time and the baseline. It's a very, I would say, new feature compared to the one that we deployed. uberAgent comes in many versions, it's updated quite often. It's all the way up to 8.0 now. It started at 8.3 when it was firstly enrolled. But you can compare, okay, this week sessions was good, last sessions were bad. Go tell me what the difference was. Now it says 2 sessions here, but it's quite tough to read. The 2 sessions between period and time, the last 7 days, has had a very high latency. So it will give you pretty damn good insights. And it's not just Windows we can collect metrics on. It's also Linux, it's also Mac. And it's not just virtual endpoints, at least if you have a platform license, you can also collect it on endpoints, like full endpoint analysis. And then you can paint a picture through the entire logon process. Just to round off the what is actually been my last few weeks is browser analysis. Chrome, Enterprise, and Edge, and Explorer if anybody still uses that. Going to see what was the rendering engine doing. I haven't installed it here. What was the application stack within the browser doing? And we can go and collect deep metrics on certificate usage, what sites was, what routing, what has everything been. It gives such a deep understanding of what has happened without blaming users. And I think we will go to a dive on a specific. So again, my log on from today. Get my tricks. Okay. And of course, there's also GPU metrics, metric uptime. If an endpoint crashes or a VA crashes, you normally just go to the event log. I would go here because we collect that. Even when it comes back up, there is also Navigator and this session insights. But this is pretty much most of what the overlying of uberAgent was to me and for us. What we did to help the customer in this case with specific Unix application. And I would call that mostly it for this thing. I'm misjudging things. Sure, that's a freedom of speaker thing. I know this. Well, I would like to thank EUC for trying me out. I see this is a way different experience than I would normally have. It's sitting as a young guy here with the years behind my back, as you guys have experienced, proves something to me that, okay, I might be peers. I'm looking up to you guys. And I'm also being respected in most cases as a peer. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for trusting young guys like me, even though I'm not taking up the entire session. I'll give you something back after having this big lunch. So thank you for listening, and I hope you really want to go and try and install uberAgent on your own. Try it. Give some feedback. There's a great team behind this at Citrix. Reach out to your Aero guy or your ATS, like Lars. And hopefully you can get even deeper insights with the guys, like Antoine, who helped us with our deployment. Thank you.